Good morning, all you beautiful, amazing warriors. Well, a lot has changed since our last video drop. I wanted to kind of do like a revival, so to speak, I guess, or an updated version, if you will, of a lot of things that were talked about during that video. I'm not quite sure how to put it, but it's just going to come out as it comes out, I guess. I've really never been one to sugarcoat things, so when I speak, it's just blunt. It's nothing bad. It's more so my self-growth as a person, as a disabled person, as a person in general. And so I wanted to come up and kind of give you guys a little update. The last time I was up here, I had talked about the video that I dropped here last time actually was a shared video that I had scheduled to be posted in the community that was over there. Afterwards, or actually just before the premiere of it being dropped here and it being dropped over there, you know, sometimes we make decisions in life that we probably should have made a long time ago, and we just never did because we were kidding ourselves about, you know, certain aspects of that thought. I'm a person that loves to, and in the past I would not talk about myself this way, but with the help of my psych therapist, and yes, I have a therapist, I've learned it's okay to acknowledge what type of person I am. It's okay to be proud of certain things I've done. It's okay to be excited about things that I'm going to do. So I'm also learning I don't have to explain myself, but for me, being the personality I have, that one's taken a little bit longer for me to digest, so to speak. But anyway, I'm learning that it's okay. And so when I say I'm a person that is me explaining to you, which is something I'm learning I don't have to necessarily do, but again, that's a bigger pill to swallow and to understand and to acknowledge. I'm the type of person that wants to help wherever I can. Now, before the internet world took over, I still very much helped when and where I could. It just wasn't publicized as much as it is now. I mean, let's face it, everything in our world is shared with millions because we now have this thing we call the internet, social media. You know, to me, my personal thoughts on internet and social media is a blessing and a curse. It has its pros, it has its cons. It can be very helpful for people like myself, or for others that have decided to become their own boss and work from home, or that have decided to start their own little business and sell things. So it can be very productive, it can be very helpful, but you have to be very careful with how much of that help you accept, because you can find yourself taking on more than you can handle. And that's what I was doing. When you're a healthy person that was enjoying life and finally finding your footing and finally doing things that you loved to do, and then literally overnight it's taken away, you find certain ways to hold on to who you were. At the same time, you're trying to learn how to live as a totally different person. This isn't something I was born with. So this isn't something that I had my entire life. This is something that happened to me in my 40s. And so I lived almost half of my life as a healthy, hardworking individual who just was enjoying her life and finding her footing and finding everything that everybody wants to find. And there is no age limit on that. I know some people feel like by the time you're 18, you should have it all figured out. No, you don't really have it all figured out until you're after your 20s. And so there's no age limit. There is no time limit on when you should find your footing or this, that, or the other. We are growing as human beings all the time. Some may not think that way, but if they took the time to really sit and analyze their life, they would understand that they've been learning this whole time. So I don't believe in that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because I believe you can. Anybody who is willing to learn can be taught. So I was taking on more than I could handle. When I first created the community, initially it was called CRPS Warriors 2024. And then it got revived to Our Journey, Our Truth. And it grew very quickly. I was not expecting it to get as big as it did. I simply created it to share my story, to get awareness, to help others understand what it's like to go from a very healthy person to a disabled person, literally pretty much overnight. And so it wasn't until many years after my diagnosis that I decided to create the community. And like I said, it kept growing. And I met a lot of amazing people that way that also live with this horrific disease, a disease I never even knew existed. So to meet so many others like myself blew my mind. I really was not expecting the outpour and the love and the support that I got. And again, by me sharing my story and getting the awareness out there, it wasn't for selfish reasons. It was to show others what this is. It was because I know what it's like not to have that support. It's very important when you're disabled to have a strong, sturdy support team in your corner. You can't have people that feel like supporting you one day and then don't want nothing to do with you the next. That's not a healthy support community. That's not a strong support team. You need people that are going to be there no matter what, no matter how your days are, no matter what you might be like one day versus the next. I know what that's like not to have that. And so that was another main focus of mine when I decided to share my story. And as I was sharing my story, I decided, you know what? I can do more than that. I can be a support team, a support community for others like myself that are not having that support. Because people that are going through the same thing understand, and they are more likely to support you. And it went on for almost 5 years. So we were very successful. A lot of people came together. A lot of people formed friendships out of that community. A lot of people formed support systems for each other out of that community. So I guess it wasn't all for nothing, because something good did come out of it. But with all that being said, I was still taking on too much. Our community went through a huge change almost 2 years ago, and it about destroyed our community. And I worked very hard for that not to happen. Um, and there were a lot of ups and downs with the community because you're dealing with a lot of people who are living with a horrific disease. But as the years went by, my disease has progressed. It has spread. And it was getting harder for me to maintain a 24/7 appearance in the community. And I had an amazing moderator, but she also lives with it. And so there were days and even weeks that her and I were MIA from the community. To have a community like that, you have to have somebody on call, okay? Because again, it's not that we were unable to be that strong support team for our warriors, but we're living with it too. And so when you have a disabled person trying to be a support team for another disabled person, it makes it a little harder than it would be if you had a healthy group of people supporting that individual. But like I said, a lot of good came out of it. Just before the premiere that just posted a couple days ago, and the drop that posted a couple days ago in the community, I decided that I was taking on way too much and that I needed to find a new focus point and work my way out from that focus point. And that focus point is myself, is my health, me as a person. I still feel very guilty saying it out loud. And that is something else that I'm learning with my therapist, is that self-love is not guilty. Self-love is just that. It's important to choose yourself first. It is important to choose you first always. And it's really hard for me to comprehend that. It's really hard for me to grasp the idea of putting myself first, because I never did that. I'm learning how to do that. And I'm gonna make mistakes as I go, because this is something new to me. This is something that I've never done before. I'm learning that to choose you first is not selfish. I'm learning how to grow and build boundaries. And I'm learning that boundaries are not selfish. I'm learning a lot. You know, my therapist is there to help me get through this terrible, horrific disease, but she also doesn't just focus on my disability. She focuses on me as a whole person. You have to, because my disease doesn't come off at the end of the day. So in order to help with one situation, you have to focus on both. And she's been doing that, and I've had her now for about 5 years. And it's just been a very huge eye-opener for myself, and I've learned a lot of really big things. And so with choosing me and choosing a new focus point and trying to figure out even what that focus point is, I know it has to be me, but I'm trying to figure everything out, and I'm doing it by myself. I don't have a support system. I don't have a support team helping me get through this other than my therapist. That's the only support I have. And so I'm trying to choose me. I'm trying to set healthy boundaries and maintain those boundaries, because in the past I would put a boundary up and I would allow it to be knocked down and not say anything. I'm learning to confront that when it happens. So with everything that has my life for the past 2 years has just been a whirlwind. There's been a lot of different things going on in my life all at the same time, and I'm trying to sort them out. And as a person that lives with CRPS, your brain doesn't do that easy anymore. It's not a healthy brain. It's not a brain that could categorize, my healthy brain knew how to do all that. But this one, not so much. So it takes a moment. It takes time. It takes people to really understand and not judge and not punish you for things. And so I'm really just trying to get it all in order. And so that's what I'm doing. And with that being said, I decided to get rid of a lot of social media platforms. Facebook was going to be one of them. And that's another story. I'll talk about that one too. But in the process, I had a lot of groups on Facebook. I had, I think, 5. And in order to get rid of those, 2 of them were private. The rest were public. And in order to get rid of those, you can't just go in and delete it. You have to go in and remove every individual person. A couple of those groups I just paused because one of them had over 600 people. Our community, and I guess it's a blessing that we don't have over 1,000 like we had before. We had over 300. So I had to go in and individually move each person before I could get rid of the community. So that is what I did. It was not an easy decision to make. And quite honestly, I felt like I was letting every single one of those members down by getting rid of the community. I had a couple come to me. I let my moderator know ahead of time that this was what I was planning on doing. And I had a couple come to me asking me what happened. They couldn't find the community, and I did put a post up. Not everybody reads every single post they come across, but people were notified that this was the decision that I had made. It was not an easy decision, but it was a necessary decision. I was just taking on way too much. And it was getting to be too much. And so I decided to remove it. So in the last premiere that dropped a couple days ago, I was talking about it and everything. And that was prior to, that video was prior to my decision. So I just wanted to come up and kind of give a little update that if you did go over there to try to look for it, you were not going to find it. Okay. Because it's no longer. However, I have put out an invite for anybody that was a member of our community, if they wanted to come here and follow and subscribe to my channel, that they were more than welcome. This is another, this channel is, yes, about me sharing my journey, but it's also in hopes that others will join and they can find support here as well. The community is open to our subscribers. And so, if you want to ask a question, if you want to share, whatever you want to do, that is absolutely doable. So this is my focus point. My focus point is this channel when it comes to sharing my disability. And with sharing my disability, I hope that others will join me and find the support that they need. Like I said, it's not easy being a person who lives with a disability and being a 24/7 supporter for another warrior, because you yourself are going through it. And so it's draining. I understand it. I get it. I understand that, we've had supporters say how hard it is, that it was just too much, that they just couldn't handle it. I get that. I get that it's not something that you look forward to doing every day, or that maybe you get tired of our mood swings, or our irrational days or moments, or our emotional days or moments, or just the fact that we are in pain all the time. You know what? I understand. There's this post that floats around a lot about CRPS, and it talks about how it doesn't just affect the warrior, but it also affects the family. Yeah, it's going to. That's a given. And I'm not saying that family are not important. I'm not saying that they don't need support as well to learn how to handle a person like us. But I will say this, that I understand what it's like to be a person who is taking care of a disabled person. I had to do it at a very, very young age. And I get it. It's tiring. It's draining. It's emotionally draining. It's physically draining. But you know what? You still have a healthy life. You can walk away from the stress of it. You can walk away and take a breath and then come back to it later. I get how stressful and emotional and frustrating it can be. I get it. But like I said, you get to walk away from it. We don't. And there comes a point in time where people just need to put themselves aside for a minute and really understand and really listen. I think if people really listened, like really listened, not just heard, but listened to it, I think our support teams would be so much better. And I'm not poo-pooing on all of the supportive family and friends out there, because some of you are amazing. Some of you get it. Some of you have listened, not just heard, but listened. Some of you have been around. Some of you have been paying attention. Some of you have been educating yourself and asking questions. You are amazing. Keep it up. And I understand it's not easy. And you understand it's not easy, but you keep coming back. You don't just throw your hands up and walk away and close the door and don't care. You keep coming back. We need more communities of our supporters. Maybe if our supporters started sharing, others would get it, because they're not getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. They're not understanding the importance of it from us. They're just not getting it. So maybe if we had more of our supporters speaking out, maybe that would change something. I don't know. But I wanted to come up and I wanted to formally say that anybody out there who is living with CRPS, if you are a member, I know some of our members don't have YouTube. Not everybody has a YouTube channel. It's super simple to do. It's super simple to become a subscriber. It's also 1000% free. You are more than welcome. I am extending the invitation, and just know that I didn't get rid of, let's put that in an easier term. I didn't retire our community because of any of you. It was a personal choice, and it was a very hard choice that I had to make, but I had to do it for me. It doesn't mean that I don't care anymore. It doesn't mean that I'm not here for you anymore. It just means that my life, my disability has changed. And with certain parts of change, I can't just have one section of my life change and try to maintain a section that very dearly and desperately needs to change. I can't maintain it. I can't ignore the elephant in the room. And it was something that I had to do. It was a hard decision to make, but it was something that I had to do. But like I said, you are more than welcome to come here, um, and you know, YouTube is huge. It is it's bigger. It's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, YouTube is a larger platform than Facebook is. And so you are almost guaranteed to find support somewhere. Um, and a lot of our warriors have great support teams. And then there's some that don't. And it's sad. It's sad and it's strange and it's ironic to see how families with disabilities are so different across the board. There are some that jump in it head first and are there and want to be there and understand the importance of being there. And then there are some that want to pick and choose when to be there. And then there are some that just aren't there at all. And it takes a village. And your village should be standing behind you strong and knowing that if one cannot be there, there's always going to be somebody else who will be. You know, it's hard to live with this. It's scary. It's lonely. I will say that living with CRPS, you absolutely, true colors absolutely come out, and you absolutely will find who's been there and who's only been there because you benefited them. But in your time of need, they're not there. True colors show. True colors show. And it's sad. It truly is. It's heartbreaking to know that people you thought loved you and people you thought were going to be there no matter what, they're usually the first ones that aren't. And it's sad that you can rely on strangers more than you can your own tribe. And it shouldn't be that way. People are strange to me. I don't understand. There's a difference between self-love and selfish love. And you can love yourself but still be there for others. And I think some forget that. I think some think or feel that, you know, they self-love, which is not a bad thing, but they find that by self-love, they're also selfish, meaning they don't have time for anybody else. They don't make the time for anybody else. They always have a reason, an excuse of why they cannot do it or why they won't do it. You know, people are just strange to me. I have found that my way of thinking has changed a lot the past 3 years, 4 years. I was one that would probably be the first to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not the one raising their hand first. I'm not the one, I got this piece of hair, sorry, it's bugging me. I'm not standing there with my hand up going, oh, no. I will still very much be that person to help, but I'm not gullible. I'm not going to be swindled into I have learned to not pick and choose, but I have learned to I've learned how to carefully place my spoons, and I'm also learning how to choose, not pick and choose, there's a difference, but choose where to apply my energy. Because I have limited energy. I have limited spoons. My life is a day-to-day basis. If you want to get technical, it's a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute. You know, I'm unable to sit here and go, yep, okay, yeah, we're going to make plans 2 months out, because I don't know what 2 months out is going to look like to me. I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 months. I don't know how I'm going to feel in 2 months. You know, I can't do that. Not that I don't want to, it's just I'm unable to. And again, this is where support, an understanding, devoted support team comes in at. My life is not scheduled. And I was always a person that I had to have, and I still do. That has not changed. I like things to be in order. I like things to, you know, be scheduled out. I like to know what I'm doing. I'm not a spontaneous person. Um, I'm just not. I'm very orderly. I like things to be, um, and also too, I need to know in advance because, like I said, I don't know what it's going to be like a week from now, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, 2 months. I don't know. Um, but anyway, I wanted to come up and kind of do an update um, from the premiere that was dropped here a couple days ago. So our community is no longer. I retired it the other day. Um, it saddens me, but I know that it was something I had to do. Sometimes we have to make really hard decisions in life, and that was one of them. I still want to get rid of my Facebook. I told you we would talk about that. They don't make it easy. They do not make it easy for you to get rid of it. So it is still very much there. I don't go on it as much like I used to, but it's there. Maybe one day I'll get it figured out and it won't be. My main focus is my YouTube, and I do still have Instagram. My Instagram is also dedicated to my awareness of CRPS. So I do share a lot over there about my disability, with a few other little things too, but it's mainly to get the awareness out about it. And I met a couple over there, a couple people over there that I met one gentleman. I didn't meet him, but I met him. I believe he said it was his cousin or a family member of his or a friend of his. I think it was a family member. I want to say family. In fact, it might have even been an in-law, now that I think about it, who has it in her legs. We started talking about it, but again, to hold on to a long conversation back and forth, I can't. I don't like using the word can't, because I don't believe that is a fact. If we try, we put our minds to it, we can do it. But it's getting a little bit more difficult for me to keep a long conversation, because it does take energy to think. It does take energy to respond, and that's just something that is not always easy for me. So I like the voice to text. I like how you can just record a voice record a voice memo and send it that way. That sometimes is easier for me because my eyes are bad, they're getting worse, and my hands hurt a lot, so it's easier for me to do it that way. But when you live with this disability, a lot of things have to change. Some things you just have to stop doing. Other things you can still do them. You just have to kind of change it up a little bit on how it's done, so much as because with CRPS you are not the same person, and you will continue to change as the years go. If your disease changes, you're changing. It's a hand-in-hand thing. You don't have a choice. So you have to constantly relearn how to live your life all over again. And I think that's another thing that supporters and family and friends don't understand. And they're not understanding. And I'm done making excuses. I used to make excuses. I used to allow others to make excuses for people that just didn't care. one of the biggest things is, well, they don't know what to say. Just say it. If you have a question, you ask it. It's not brain surgery. It's really not. And that's the problem. It's like people don't ask, they don't communicate, they don't talk. And if you're not doing any of those, well, then guess what? You're not learning anything. This world has got so tech savvy where we don't speak to each other anymore. It's through text messaging. I've never really been a phone person, really, my whole life, even as a teenager. I know. I don't like to talk on the phone. If I do, it's got to be for a short period of time, and then I'm good. I don't like having that phone in my face 24/7. I mean, a lot of people love talking on the phone. I don't. So texting, there comes a point where you do have to speak to each other, other than through email or texting, because words can be distorted. Things can be taken the wrong way. And it's not only that, but it's called communicating. It's called talking to one another. People don't do that anymore. They don't. It's like they could be sitting in the same room with each other, and instead of talking, they're texting each other. Who does that? Open your mouth and use your words. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it done. I've been in the room with my children. I've been in the room with other members of my family or acquaintances or whatever, and they're texting. Like, they're texting, and they're all, put the phone down and talk. There have been so many times where I have tried to communicate with my family about this, and instead of me having their full attention, they're on their phone. Well, you're not listening to me if you're on your phone. Put the phones down and speak. Ask questions. Communicate with one another, because that's the only way you're going to learn anything. There have been so many times where I have asked my family for a little bit of their time so I can talk to them about what's going on with me. They're busy. Today's not a good day. That's the response I get. Or they'll agree, but if it goes past a certain amount of minutes for them, they're no longer interested. It's sad. And it's lonely, and it's scary. And again, like I've said before, and I will repeatedly say this, no one should be going through this alone. Nobody. You might hear Bubby bark. Bubby, you whisper. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to come up, and I wanted to kind of update you guys on what was going on with that. So if you did try to go over and find it, you're not going to find it because it's not there. So, like I said, a lot of things in my life has changed, and they will continue to change. But anyway, no, he's gruffing at the squirrels. No, you're not going outside to get the squirrels. All right, guys, I'm gonna go. I'm wishing you all an amazing day. I'm wishing you a day full of blessings. And if you are a person who has that support, you are more blessed in so many ways than you will ever understand. Because a lot of us don't. And so if you are a person who is supporting one of our amazing warriors, awesome. I thank you, because they need it. And you are amazing. You are an amazing individual, because I know it's not easy taking care of a disabled person. I've done it, and it's exhausting, and it's super exhausting when you're so young and you have to do it. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being that support team that they need. Never stop. I know it's not easy, but you are an amazing individual who decided to stay firm, stay strong, and be there no matter what. And you are amazing. You are God sent, and you are a blessing. So I thank you for being there for them. The rest of you, I'm sending you gentle hugs. I wish you an amazing day. Remember baby steps, and remember every little step you take matters. You are awesome. You are a warrior, and I love you all. And with that being said, we will talk very, very soon. But until then, ciao for now. Bye.